things that are going to happen in the next 12 weeks and the events that are going to transpire in the next 12 weeks are literally going to change the way that the earth runs forever. This is the most significant thing that's ever happened on the entire planet. The greatest current nugget that I can give to my audience right here and right now is welcome back, everybody, to Dream Life Podcast. For the next 5 or 6 podcasts, we're going to go freestyle. I'm not going to have any set outline or topics or anything. Basically, what I'd like to do over the next 5 or 6 podcasts is just help my audience to understand, why am I here? Why are you here? Do I have the ability and to bring golden nuggets of information and experience to my audience so that they can take those golden nuggets and implement those into their own lives? So over the past 3 months, I've been contemplating what's the best information that I can bring to my audience where they're going to get the most mileage out of whatever gas I can put in their tank. And the first thing that I decided that I needed to share with you guys is touching on some of the things that I had mentioned in some of our earlier podcasts. And I had mentioned the fact that we are starting to transition and phase into a completely new world. And I left it pretty vague at that point in time because certain things needed to mature in the world. And those things have come to full maturation. And so now I can communicate with you what we can expect to see happen coming up in the next 12 weeks, which are, quite frankly, going to be on fire, relatively speaking, to the rest of history. Because the things that are going to happen in the next 12 weeks and the events that are going to transpire in the next 12 weeks are literally going to change the way that the earth runs forever. I know that everybody can feel something. I believe that everybody knows that the way things are going right now, they're not right. They are screwed up. There's no other way to put it. But things right now are so screwed up, and people out there are doing things that are just completely insane. And when I say completely insane, I'm talking about, having cross-dressers reading stories to young children to train them, to become that type of lifestyle. That's an abomination. That is nothing but an abomination. But the Bible talks about the types of things that are going to be happening in the last days of what I'm beginning to call the old world, Because the old world that existed from the beginning of mankind to 2024, that is going to become known as the old world. The new world that we're going into after November 1st of 2024, moving forward, that's going to be referred to in my book as the new world. And what's happening right now is that the general public has no idea that our U.S. military, in conjunction with the 36 largest militaries across the entire world, have been executing a sting operation on a magnitude and a scale that is bigger than any world war ever thought of being. And it's being done in unison with the good guys within the military, because there are bad guys within the military who are woke and broke and everything else. But what this sting operation is doing, there's a few different things. The first thing is that this military sting operation they are destroying an international child and man and woman sex trafficking ring, that has enslaved millions of people in the sex trade across the entire world, 2 or 3 centuries. It's been huge, but it's been since the beginning of mankind. Sick people have made sex slaves out of other human beings just because they're sadistic. They're just not right. They're subhuman. So this sting operation also is taking down the drug lords across the entire planet, whether they're in the Middle East, Indochina, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Mexico, Colombia. The drug lords are meeting their fate with the militaries of the world. The third thing is that the military is destroying and bringing to justice, by virtue of military tribunal, all of these, the Illuminati world controllers that have been doing bad deeds, dirty deeds for 200 or 300 years. This has been very bad. But the militaries are bringing these people to justice. Now, you ask, How do I know these things? Well, at the beginning of COVID, when our business was basically shut down and we couldn't even have our workers go out to the construction site to build stuff because of the pandemic that they put upon us, I had all this free time on my hands. I'm used to working 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 hours a day and being productive. So all of a sudden, we come into the pandemic. They tell us, we need to stay home for 2 weeks to shut down the virus. So they shut everything down for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks turned into 3 weeks. 3 weeks turned into 3 months, and now here we are. 3 months has turned into 4 years. You still have people driving around in their vehicle with a mask on. I used to laugh at those people, but now I actually have to cry for them because of the fact that these people, their minds are so weak and so entrapped by the matrix that these world controllers have forced these people into, that they don't even have the basic knowledge of their freedom, of their liberty. And if you think about it, it's really heartbreaking because they didn't get there, on their own. Everybody was conditioned and trained to follow the government, follow the CDC, follow all these people, and they wanted you to follow them right to the pit of hell. That's what these people wanted to do with this whole pandemic. Now, in another 2 or 3 freestyle podcasts, I'm going to get into the nefarious nature of the pandemic and especially this thing, okay? the JAB. Because when you find out what the JAB was all about, you're going to be glad that you didn't get the JAB, or you're going to be somewhat concerned that you got the JAB, because it is a super significant event and it gives the world controllers control over your body that you have no idea. And the more JABs that you get, the worse and worse it is, and the more control that they have over your body. So getting back to this military sting operation, another component of the military sting operation is the fact that the Rothschild family and the 13 bloodline families that they basically work for, they've enslaved humanity from a financial perspective by creating 208 central banks. They're basically the same exact thing as the Federal Reserve Bank. The Federal Reserve Bank, number one, it is not federal. Number two, they have no reserves. And number three, they're not a bank. And what do I mean by they're not a bank? The true definition of a bank is a repository where when you take something, in this case, we'll call it currency, but it could be other things. It could be silver, it could be gold. You could deposit other things in a safe deposit box at a bank. But a bank is basically supposed to be a repository of something of value. But because of the fact that the Rothschild family are very brilliant experts at enslaving humanity to their federal central banking system, it's a Ponzi scheme. And it's a Ponzi scheme that elected officials in the United States of America specifically have gone along with all the other morons in the world who allowed these central banks to establish themselves. They have different names, but it's all the same family. Every one of these banks, it's the Rothschild Central Ponzi scheme is what it is. And I'm not going to call them a bank because they're not a bank. They're just a Ponzi scheme. So they take money, or I say fiat, they take fiat bills, they print it in the fashion that it looks like it's something that was produced by the United States government, which it's not. These fiat dollars are produced by, these foreign aliens, the Rothschild family. They give us a debt currency, and you think to yourself, if I have a $5 bill or a $20 or $100 bill, you think of it as having value. Well, it doesn't have any value because it says it's a debt note. They're representing to you, lawfully, they're representing to you that it's a debt note. If anybody's an accountant, they know the difference between the debit side and the credit side of a ledger. So the currency has no value. And just recently, if anybody's been paying attention in the news, the dollar is about to crash in a big way because of the fact that it is now backed by nothing. It used to be backed by the oil contracts through Saudi Arabia and a whole complex set of rules and systems that were in place vis-a-vis contract. Those contracts that have expired and Saudi Arabia has said, we're not renewing them. It's not a good deal for us. It's not a good deal for the world. So we're stopping that. So the banking component of the military sting operation is to literally take down and finally destroy the Rothschild and the Illuminati, the 13 bloodline families that have been ruling the earth financially since the Roman Empire crashed. They didn't go away. They just reorganized and became banksters instead of landlords of the earth. So those are the major components of the sting operation. And so part and parcel to the sting operation is the fact that the world controllers, in order to control the world, they stole elections all across the earth, and they used the voting machines. They used people filling in ballots that weren't theirs, and photocopying ballots, and they got 56 different tricks that they use to steal an election and to steal votes. So having said all that, those are the main components of the sting operation that's been going on, since 2017, when Commander-in-Chief Trump got into office, signed off, and told the military, go drain the swamp. But he wasn't talking about just the swamp in Washington, D.C. He was talking about the New World Order globalists. He was draining the entire swamp, not just a part of it. He drained the entire swamp. And then once the swamp was drained and he got to see where all the gators and the snakes and everything were, he took them out. He brought them to justice. The military went out, arrested these people, under covert operations, not in public view. The public didn't get to see all the stuff that was going on. But within the next 12 weeks, we're going to get to see kind of the after show where people are going to think it's happening in current time, but it's really not. This stuff has actually happened in 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So that's the military sting operation. And teaching my audience about what is happening and what has been happening for the past 7 or 8 years with these 36 militaries around the world. This is the most significant thing that's ever happened on the entire planet. It's bigger than Moses parting the Red Sea. It's bigger than the flood. Maybe not bigger than the flood, because the flood wiped out everybody except for Noah's family. And it's literally bigger than Jesus Christ hanging on the cross, not in terms of the impact overall, because we all know that Jesus Christ has saved billions of people from the time of his death and resurrection until today. But I'm talking about in just sheer enormity of everybody hearing about it and seeing this miraculous event that is orchestrated by God. And they're going to hear about it, and they're going to see it, and they're going to feel the repercussions of it in a good way within the next 12 weeks. So this podcast, this is kind of my first introductory podcast to kind of give you an idea of the important golden nuggets that I want to bring to my audience that I've researched for. There's several days I spent 10 hours a day studying these geopolitical things that were going on in the world. And not only were they geopolitical, but they were geo-religious, they were geo-financial, they were geo-military, covered the whole gamut all the way across the entire board. So the greatest current nugget that I can give to my audience right here and right now is helping you to understand what has been going on behind the scenes for 7 or 8 years. What is that going to begin to look like over the next 8 to 12 weeks? Because your life, my life, they are changing forever for the good. It's going to get ugly. It's going to get really ugly. The things that are about to happen are going to scare the living daylights out of just about everybody on earth, except for those of us who are awake. They're going to think that their lives, their financial lives, their physical lives are coming to an end because of the types of events that are going to happen. But do not be dismayed. This is God's operation. The militaries of the world, they're God's military. God is orchestrating the militaries of the world to do the physical work in the physical realm of what has been happening in the spiritual realm. We all know the Bible says is that we don't wage war against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities in high places. These powers and principalities in high places, the world as they've known it is coming to an end. And all the stuff that they've been robbing from humanity, freedom, financial prosperity, peace of mind, all of that is coming to an end in a big fat hurry. So that's freestyle introductory podcast number 1. In the follow-up podcast, I'm going to start getting into some of the details and some of the people who are involved in different things that have been going on. So we will see you again in our next podcast. So look it up. I hope you enjoy the show. So folks, if you like my channel and you like the golden nuggets that we're delivering, please hit like and also subscribe. And also you can comment anything that you want to say or questions that you have down in the comment section, and we'll reply to that. Thank you.